When Starbucks opened its doors in Milan, Italians called it an invasion, provoking outrage, headlines, and a debate over what it means to be truly Italian. For a nation where 95% of cafes are fiercely independent, this wasn't just about coffee, but a battle for identity itself. Why did one chain's arrival spark the coffee chain war that redefined Italy's identity? And what does it reveal about tradition, pride, and the future of Italian culture? In the years after World War II, Italian cities pulsed with a new kind of energy. At the heart of this daily rhythm stood the neighborhood espresso bar, a place where the clatter of cups, the hiss of steam, and the hum of conversation became the city's true soundtrack. Morning light filtered through glass doors as regulars crowded around polished counters, standing shoulder to shoulder. The ritual was brisk but unhurried, a nod to the barista, a few coins exchanged, a short espresso poured in seconds. There was no menu to study, no need to specify. Un café meant exactly one thing. Behind the bar, machines gleamed like civic monuments. Baristas moved with practiced speed, pulling a shot in under 15 seconds, sliding it across the marble to waiting hands. The drink itself was small, just a concentrated burst of flavor, gone in a mouthful. But the real value lay in the exchange. A quick word about the weather or football, a laugh, a shared glance. Each transaction was a tiny act of belonging, repeated thousands of times a day in every city and town. Newsreels from the 1950s capture these scenes in black and white. Men in hats, women in pressed skirts, all pausing for a moment at the bar before heading to work. The price of an espresso then was measured in lira, just a handful of coins, affordable enough to make the ritual universal. Even as prices crept up through the decades, the expectation remained. Coffee should be accessible to everyone, a daily pleasure rather than a luxury. This choreography played out from dawn until dusk. At lunchtime, crowds pressed in for a quick café and a bite, the air thick with the scent of roasted beans and fresh pastry. In the afternoon, friends and colleagues gathered again, standing at the same counters, sharing news and gossip. The bar was more than a place to drink. It was the civic living room, a space where the boundaries of class and age blurred. By the turn of the millennium, the euro replaced the lira, and the €1 espresso became a new social contract. But the essence of the ritual endured, fast, communal, and rooted in local identity. The Italian bar remained a world apart from the sit-down cafes of Paris or Vienna. Here, speed and sociability mattered more than comfort or spectacle. Each bar was fiercely independent, shaped by its neighborhood and its regulars, resisting uniformity in favor of tradition. This daily performance, repeated across generations, gave Italian coffee culture its strength and its vulnerability. The bar was not just a place to drink coffee, but a stage for the rituals that defined what it meant to be Italian. In these moments, standing at the counter, the nation's identity was brewed and reaffirmed, one espresso at a time. Massimo Montanari, one of Italy's leading food historians, has spent decades tracing the ways rituals around food and drink become the backbone of national identity. He describes the espresso bar as more than a convenience. It's a daily ceremony that quietly binds people to place and to each other. After the war, when Italy was rebuilding not just its cities, but its sense of self, these bars offered a kind of stability and belonging. Stepping inside, even for a minute, was a way to affirm membership in a community, no matter your background or status. Montanari points out that the choreography of the bar, standing, exchanging coins, sharing a word with the barista, became a language of citizenship. The drink itself was almost secondary. What mattered was the repetition, the familiarity, the sense that everyone played by the same unwritten rules. The ritual, he says, is what made the experience sacred. In his words, rituals are the fabric of identity. They turn a simple act, drinking coffee, into a badge of belonging. This isn't just nostalgia. Montanari's research shows how these habits formed the foundation for a uniquely Italian idea of public life. The bar was open to all, a neutral ground where differences blurred. The price of admission was low, but the payoff was enormous. A moment of recognition, a feeling of being seen. Even as the country modernized and money changed hands, from lira to euros, the expectations stayed the same. Coffee was not a luxury, but a right. The €1 espresso became a kind of social contract, an everyday promise that Italy was for everyone. Montanari argues that this ritual gave coffee a power far beyond taste or caffeine. It became a symbolic currency, traded for a sense of place and identity. In the decades that followed, this ritual would be fiercely defended, sometimes with humor, often with passion, whenever outsiders tried to reinterpret it. For Italians, to stand at the bar and order un café is to take part in a living tradition, one that says, "Here you belong." September 6th, 2018. The doors of Starbucks' first Italian outpost swing open in Milan's Piazza Corduccio, and a crowd surges forward, some out of curiosity, others to make a point. Uniformed police, security barriers, and a tangle of cameras fill the square. Reporters shout questions over the din, their microphones angled toward the line of waiting customers and a growing cluster of local baristas holding homemade signs. One sign reads, in thick black marker, "Il café è sacro." Another, waved by a young man in a white apron, declares, "Un café americano travestito." The phrase lands everywhere, on placards, in news headlines, and across Italian Twitter within hours. It's repeated with a kind of bitter pride, a wink and a warning. This is not our coffee, and everyone knows it. The barista at the center is Marco, 32, second-generation owner of a cafe 2 blocks away. He's loud, quick with a joke, but his voice is tight as he fields questions from a TV crew. They say they're inspired by Milan, he says, gesturing at the marble and copper of the new roastery. But this is theater. Our coffee is about speed, about knowing your neighbor, about standing at the bar, not sitting for an hour with a milkshake. His words echo through the crowd, picked up by journalists and amplified on social media. Within minutes, the phrase, "Un café americano travestito" trends nationwide. Inside, the scene is a study in contrasts. Tourists snap photos under the soaring ceilings, clutching branded cups. Baristas in green aprons serve up drinks with caramel swirls and whipped cream, while a few Milanese regulars eye the menu with suspicion. Outside, the protest is small but relentless. Local cafe owners hand out free espressos to passers-by, challenging them to compare. "Taste this," Marco urges, holding out a tiny porcelain cup. €1, 2 seconds, and you're Italian again. Italian TV channels cut between shots of the glossy Starbucks interior and the bustling bars next door. A viral video captures a heated exchange. Marco, standing toe-to-toe with the Starbucks manager, says, "You can't buy our ritual, you can't buy our identity." The crowd cheers. Headlines the next morning are blunt. Starbucks traveste la nostra tradizione and il café è sacro. On the street, opinions split. Some young Milanese shrug, eager to try something new. Others scoff at the prices, €2.50 for an espresso, nearly triple the neighborhood bar. A grandmother clutching her shopping bag shakes her head. Coffee is not a show. It's a moment. You stand, you drink, you go. For a few days, the city buzzes with debate. News anchors quote baristas calling Starbucks an invader, while memes flood Italian Facebook. Espresso cups drawn as superheroes, fending off giant green mermaids. The phrase "un café americano travestito" becomes shorthand for the whole controversy, scrawled on walls and trending across screens. Underneath the jokes and jabs, something deeper simmers. The fear that a daily ritual handed down for generations could be swept away by a global brand. For Marco and his fellow baristas, this isn't just business. It's a line in the sand. Italy's coffee landscape is not just shaped by ritual, it's defined by numbers. More than 150,000 coffee bars line the streets from Milan to Palermo. Nearly all of them, about 95%, are independently owned. This dominance is not just tradition, it's a structural reality, confirmed by retail analysts, trade associations, and government statistics. The sheer density of these bars is visible on any city map, with clusters in every neighborhood. each one a small world of regulars, family owners, and local flavor. Industry analysts point out that this network presents a nearly insurmountable barrier for any chain hoping to expand. Prices are set low, often around €1 for a quick espresso. Most Italians expect to stand at the bar, pay in cash, and be out the door in under a minute. The economics leave little room for the overhead and margins of a global brand. Even in Milan, where international trends land first, independent bars outnumber chains by more than 20 to 1. The numbers hold steady across regions, from the bustling north to the slower-paced south. Starbucks, for all its global reach, has managed to open fewer than 20 stores in Italy as of 2023. Most of these are clustered in high-traffic tourist zones or business districts. The Milan Reserve Roastery, with its marble counters and soaring ceilings, draws crowds of travelers and locals curious to see the spectacle. But for the average Italian, the daily coffee is still a neighborhood affair. Analysts from Euromonitor describe Starbucks' Italian presence as a flag in the ground, rather than a wave of change. The chain's market share remains a sliver, less than 5% nationally, and even less if measured by daily foot traffic outside the tourist core. The economics are clear. A traditional bar serves hundreds of espressos a day, each transaction quick, cheap, and personal. Chains rely on higher prices, larger drinks, and longer stays, habits that don't fit the Italian rhythm. Attempts by other international brands, McCafe, Caffè Nero, even local chains, have run up against the same wall, a market built on thousands of fiercely loyal, small-scale operators. The system is so decentralized that even slight shifts in rent or supply prices tend to push out weaker independents, not open space for global chains. Retail analysts point to the map. In Rome, Turin, Naples, and Florence, the story repeats. Independents dominate, chains remain rare, and the €1 espresso is the baseline. The few chain stores that do survive often cater to tourists, expats, or students seeking novelty. For older Italians and most working adults, the idea of paying triple for an espresso, let alone drinking it from a paper cup, remains unthinkable. Market experts say the real impact of Starbucks and its peers is symbolic, not economic. Their arrival sparks debate and headlines, but the numbers barely move. The structure of Italy's coffee market, fragmented, local, and rooted in daily habit, acts as a natural defense. The so-called coffee chain war is fought on screens and in conversations, not in balance sheets. For now, the independent bar remains the backbone of Italian life, its dominance mapped out in every city and town across the country. In Italy, coffee is more than a drink. It's a sacred craft. The phrase "Il caffè è sacro" appears on placards and headlines, but its meaning is best understood behind the counter. At a small Milanese bar, a representative from the Specialty Coffee Association of Italy stands ready. His hands move with the confidence of years spent at the machine. Each step is deliberate, grinding beans to the perfect texture, tamping them with just enough pressure, locking the portafilter into place. The machine hisses, and in 8 seconds, a stream of dark liquid fills a porcelain cup. No timers or gadgets, just muscle memory and a sense of duty to tradition. He explains that every detail matters. The water must be heated to exactly 93 degrees Celsius. The grind, the tamp, the extraction time, each variable is tuned for balance. The goal is a shot that's rich, dense, and topped with a fine layer of crema. Tools are tactile, a heavy tamper, a scale worn smooth by years of use, a cloth for wiping the steam wand. The barista's gestures are small rituals, repeated hundreds of times a day, each one a quiet act of reverence. There's no room for customization here, no flavored syrups, no venti cups. The espresso is served standing, in a cup that fits perfectly in the palm. The exchange is brief, but the connection is real. A nod, a quick word, a shared understanding. For many Italians, this is what sets their coffee apart from global brands, not just the flavor, but the devotion to process, the pride in getting every detail right. The phrase "Il caffè è sacro" isn't just a slogan. It's a reminder that, in this corner of the world, the ritual is inseparable from identity. In a quiet corner of Milan's Isola district, a new kind of cafe hums with life. Behind the counter, Martina, 26, pours a single-origin espresso while her business partner preps oat milk for a cappuccino. The space feels both familiar and foreign. Ceramic cups line the bar, but the menu lists pour over options and matcha lattes alongside the classic cafe. For Martina, tradition isn't an obstacle, it's a starting point. She grew up standing at the neighborhood bar with her father, but now she welcomes regulars who want to linger, work on laptops, or try something different. "We're not here to replace the old bars," she says, wiping down the counter. "We're here because Milan is changing, and so are we." Hybrid cafes like hers, Pave in Isola, Taglio in Navili, Orso Nero in Porta Romana, blend the Italian rhythm of fast-standing espresso with specialty brews, pastries, and global touches. Young founders speak of dialogue, not disruption. Most still insist on the 8-second espresso pull and the ritual of a quick word with the barista, but they also experiment. Plant-based milks, filter coffee, and even app ordering for the morning rush. The regulars are a mix. Some order the usual, others test the new. In these places, the boundary between old and new blurs, and the line between Italian and international grows thinner. Starbucks, too, has learned to adapt. In an interview, a company spokesperson repeats a phrase now familiar in Italian press: "We come to Milan with humility and respect." Menus have shrunk, drinks are smaller, and staff are trained in local etiquette. The flagship stores double as showpieces for Italian design, with marble counters and pastries from local bakeries. For now, the chain's presence is measured, more a nod to Milan's cosmopolitan side than a challenge to neighborhood bars. The coffee chain war, it seems, has found a middle ground, not a surrender, but a quiet coexistence shaped by the city's youngest voices. In 2018, Starbucks opened its first store in Milan. But even today, independent cafes make up 95% of Italy's coffee market, a figure confirmed by Euromonitor and industry reports. Archival footage and expert testimony show how post-war espresso bars shaped social life, setting a national standard around the €1 espresso and the standing bar ritual. The protests and headlines that greeted Starbucks' arrival were about more than a brand. They reflected decades of tradition and a deep sense of identity. As documented in Milan's Isola, Navigli, and Porta Romana districts, new hybrid cafes now blend global and Italian influences. What remains uncertain is how these changes will reshape the ritual in the next generation. Official data does not yet track the long-term cultural impact. For now, the evidence is clear. Coffee in Italy is more than a drink. It's a daily act that continues to define what it means to be Italian, even as the world changes around it.